The massive space station hung in the darkness like a glowing jewel. It was bigger than most moons and sparkled with millions of lights from its many levels. This was the home of the Galactic Council, the most powerful group in the known universe. Today, something important was happening inside its great halls. Admiral Zexathara walked through the long corridors with heavy steps. His thick armor made loud sounds on the metal floor. He was from the Vorthan Empire, a race of warriors who had ruled space battles for over 1,000 years. His people looked like giant insects with hard shells covering their bodies. Their eyes were black and cold, and their mouths had sharp teeth that could bite through steel. The admiral was not happy. For weeks now, the council had been getting strange messages from a new race. They called themselves humans, and they came from a small system called Sol. These humans wanted to talk about trade and peace. They wanted to join the galaxy as friends. This made Admiral Zexathara laugh. Humans were nothing. Their ships were tiny and slow. They used old fusion engines that barely worked. The admiral had seen the reports. Human ships were only a few hundred meters long. His own flagship was 50,000 meters long and could destroy planets. He entered the Great Council chamber. The room was huge, with a dome ceiling that showed the stars outside. 12 different alien races sat around a circle. Each race had ruled parts of the galaxy for thousands of years. They were the masters of space, and they knew it. The crystalline being sat to his left. They looked like walking diamonds that made beautiful sounds when they talked. Their ships were made of living crystal that could fix itself when damaged. They had been mining asteroids and building star cities since before humans learned to make fire. Across from them sat the Psionic Confederation. These aliens had no bodies. They were pure mind energy that glowed with purple light. They could read thoughts from across star systems and move objects with their minds alone. To them, humans were like deaf and blind animals. The Aquatic Union had sent their representative in a water tank. The fish-like being floated inside, its gills moving slowly. Their people lived in the deep oceans of water worlds and had ships that could dive through space like swimming through water. They thought air-breathing races were weak and stupid. Admiral Zexathara took his seat at the war table. His voice was deep and rough when he spoke. "My fellow council members, we are here to discuss the human problem. These new creatures have been sending us messages for 3 months. They want to trade with us. They want to be our equals." Several aliens made sounds that meant laughter in their languages. The crystalline being rang like a bell. The psionic creature flashed bright purple. Even the fish thing in its tank made bubbling sounds. "Equals?" said the reptilian delegate. His people looked like giant lizards with 4 arms. "We have seen their ships. They are toys compared to our fleets. One of our destroyers could sink their entire space force. Their technology is from the Stone Age," added the Machine Collective representative. This one was a robot made of silver metal with glowing red eyes. They still use chemical rockets to leave their planet. They have no shields, no energy weapons, no faster-than-light communication. They are cave dwellers who learn to fly. Admiral Zexathara nodded his large head. "Yes, but they keep sending messages. They act like they belong here with us. They do not understand their place." The council chamber fell quiet. Outside the windows, they could see the great war fleets of 12 races. Millions of ships floated in perfect formations around the station. Each ship was a masterpiece of death and destruction. Some could crack moons in half, others could boil the oceans of entire worlds. The hive mind delegate spoke next. This creature looked like a giant ant with 6 arms and wings. Behind it stood dozens of smaller ants that all shared the same thoughts. The humans have no hive structure. Each one thinks for itself. This makes them weak and confused. They cannot work together like a proper species should. They fight among themselves even now. "I have studied their history," said the energy being from the Plasma Empire. This alien was made of living fire that changed colors as it talked. They have had over 200 wars on their home planet. They kill each other for pieces of land smaller than our garbage dumps. They are violent and stupid. Admiral Zexathara stood up. His armor caught the light and gleamed like black metal. Then, We are all agreed. These humans need to learn respect. They need to understand who rules this galaxy. He activated a hologram in the center of the room. It showed the Sol system with its small yellow star and 9 planets. Earth looked tiny and blue, like a marble floating in the dark. I propose we send them a message they will understand. We give them a choice. They can become our servants, our slaves, our pets, or they can be destroyed. Simple and clean. The other aliens made sounds of agreement. The crystalline beings chimed like music. The robot's eyes flashed brighter. The fish creature swam in excited circles. "How long do we give them to answer?" asked the Void Walker. This alien was so strange that looking at it hurt the eyes. It seemed to be made of living darkness with stars for eyes. 3 days, said Admiral Zexathara. That is more time than they deserve. If they say no, we gather our fleets and show them what real power looks like. The council voted. It was unanimous. Every race agreed that humans needed to be taught a lesson. They would send the ultimatum immediately. As the meeting ended, Admiral Zexathara felt proud. Soon, another primitive race would bow before the council's might. The humans would join the thousands of other species that served as workers and slaves throughout the galaxy. He had no idea that everything was about to change. The message was sent within the hour. It traveled through space faster than light, carried by quantum transmitters that could reach across the galaxy in seconds. The words were simple and clear. To the human species of Sol system, you will submit to the authority of the Galactic Council. You will surrender your weapons and your independence. You will serve us as we command. You have 72 hours to agree. If you refuse, your species will be eliminated. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. Choose wisely. The council members went back to their quarters, satisfied with their work. They began planning the victory celebration that would follow humanity's surrender. None of them imagined that humans might say no. None of them imagined what would happen if they did. The message from the Galactic Council arrived on Earth during the middle of the night. The quantum receiver buried deep under the Swiss mountains began flashing red warning lights. Computer screens filled with alien symbols that slowly translated into human language. Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen was sleeping in her quarters when the emergency alarm woke her up. She had been expecting this day for 5 years, ever since Earth's deep space sensors first detected alien ships watching them from the outer solar system. She got dressed quickly and walked through the underground tunnels to the command center. The United Earth Defense Command was built inside a mountain for good reasons. If aliens decided to attack Earth from space, this place would be one of the last to fall. The walls were made of the strongest materials humans could make. The computers were shielded against every type of weapon they could imagine. Admiral Chen entered the main control room. Dozens of officers from different countries worked at their stations. The room was quiet, except for the soft humming of machines. Everyone knew something big was happening. General Martinez from the Space Marines stood up when she entered. He was a big man with scars on his face from old battles. Next to him stood Admiral Petrov from the Russian Space Fleet. His gray hair and serious eyes showed he had seen many wars. "Admiral," said General Martinez, "the message came in 20 minutes ago. You need to read this." Admiral Chen took the printed paper and read it slowly. Her face did not change as she read the alien words. The Council was giving humanity 3 choices: become slaves, become servants, or die. They had 72 hours to decide. "Well," she said quietly, "they certainly get to the point." "This is an insult," said Admiral Petrov, hitting his fist on the table. "They treat us like animals, like we are nothing." "What are our options?" asked General Martinez. "Our fleets are spread across the solar system. We have maybe 300 ships total. The intelligence reports say they have thousands." Admiral Chen walked to the big window that looked out over the command center. Below them, hundreds of people worked at computer stations. These were Earth's best scientists, engineers, and military officers. They had been preparing for this moment for years. "Gentlemen," she said, "let me tell you something about humans. We do not kneel to anyone, not to kings, not to gods, and certainly not to aliens who think they own the galaxy." She turned back to face them. Her eyes were hard and cold. 5 years ago, when we first detected their scout ships, I started a special project. We called it Project Prometheus. We knew this day would come. We knew they would underestimate us. General Martinez looked confused. Admiral, what kind of project? I have clearance for everything we do here. Admiral Chen smiled for the first time since reading the message. No, General, you do not. Only 5 people on Earth know about Prometheus. The President, myself, and 3 scientists. Everyone else thinks we have been building normal space. Ships. She walked to a secure computer terminal and entered a long password. The screen showed files marked with the highest security level. Pictures appeared of something that looked like a ship, but unlike any ship the officers had ever seen. My God, whispered Admiral Petrov. What is that thing? That, said Admiral Chen, is what humans can do when we stop playing by everyone else's rules. While the aliens were watching our old fusion ships and laughing at our simple technology, we were working on something else, something they cannot imagine. The ship in the pictures was sleek and black. It was smaller than Earth's biggest warships, but something about it looked dangerous. The hull seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Strange symbols covered its surface. How is this possible? Asked General Martinez. Where did we get the technology? We did not get it from anywhere, said Admiral Chen. We made it. Ourselves. Humans have always been good at one thing, gentlemen. We learn. We adapt. We find ways to survive that no one expects. She closed the files and looked at both men. The aliens think we are primitive because we use fusion engines and metal ships. They think technology means bigger guns and stronger shields. They do not understand that the greatest weapon is knowledge. Admiral Chen walked back to the main communication station. The technician there was waiting for orders. Sir, said the technician, what should we tell them? Admiral Chen thought for a moment. The aliens expected humans to be afraid. They expected begging and pleading. They expected Earth to surrender without a fight. Send them this message, she said. 3 words only. Come and take. The technician typed the message into the quantum transmitter. 3 words in simple English that would travel across space faster than light. Admiral, said General Martinez, they will bring their entire fleet here. Thousands of ships. Even with this new technology, can we really fight them all? Admiral Chen looked at the star charts on the wall. Earth was just a tiny dot in a vast galaxy filled with alien empires. For thousands of years, these aliens had ruled space. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and enslaved entire species. General, she said, they have been the apex predators for so long that they have forgotten what it feels like to be prey. They think strength comes from numbers and big ships. They do not understand what humans learned a long time ago. What is that, Admiral? It is not the size of the dog in the fight, it is the size of the fight in the dog. She turned to address the entire command center. Her voice carried across the room. People of Earth, she announced. The aliens have given us an ultimatum. They want us to surrender. They want us to become their slaves. I have sent them our answer. The room fell silent. Everyone stopped working and listened. In 72 hours, they will come here with their fleets. They will expect to find a frightened species ready to beg for mercy. Instead, they will find something they have never seen before. They will find humans who refuse to kneel. She paused and looked around the room at all the faces watching her. Activate Project Prometheus. Send the recall signal to all our ships. Bring them home. It is time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten Earth. The command center exploded into activity. Officers ran to their stations. Computer screens filled with data. Communication arrays began sending coded messages across the solar system. In space, human ships that had been scattered across dozens of worlds began turning toward home. But they were not the same ships that had left Earth years ago. Each one had been upgraded with technology that did not appear in any official records. Admiral Chen walked to her private office and sealed the door. She opened a secure channel to a location that did not exist on any map. This is Admiral Chen. Authorization Omega 77. Begin final preparations. Our guests will be arriving soon. The voice that answered came from somewhere deep in space, far from Earth. Understood. Admiral, Prometheus is ready. We will be waiting for them. Admiral Chen closed the channel and sat back in her chair. The next 72 hours would change everything. Either humanity would find its place in the galaxy as a free species, or they would die fighting for that freedom. She preferred it that way. Humans had always been at their best when their backs were against the wall. Outside her window, Earth continued to spin in the darkness. It looked peaceful and quiet. The aliens would see a small blue world with primitive technology and weak defenses. They would be wrong about everything. 3 days had passed since humanity sent their answer to the Galactic Council. Space around the Sol system was about to become very crowded. The first alien ships appeared at the edge of human space like falling stars. One by one, thousands of vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The darkness between planets suddenly filled with the lights of an invasion fleet that stretched for millions of kilometers. Admiral Zexathera stood on the command bridge of his flagship, the Deathbringer. Through the massive windows, he could see the greatest war fleet ever assembled. Ships from 12 different races had come together for one purpose. They would teach the humans a lesson about respect. The Vorthon Empire had brought 400 of their best warships. Each one was built like a flying fortress covered in thick armor and deadly weapons. The crystalline hegemony sent ships that looked like floating cathedrals made of living diamond. The Psionic Confederation brought vessels that seemed to be made of pure energy and thought. "Status report," commanded Admiral Zexathara. His tactical officer, a younger Vorthon with bright green eyes, checked his instruments. "Sir, we have 9,847 ships in formation. All weapons are ready. All shields are active. We are prepared for battle." The Admiral nodded with satisfaction. This was more firepower than had ever been gathered in one place. They could destroy entire star systems with this fleet. A few primitive humans would not be a problem. "What about their defenses?" he asked. "Sir, our long-range sensors show very little activity in the Sol system. We detect some small patrol ships near the outer planets, but nothing significant. Earth's orbital platforms are still there, but they appear to be mostly civilian structures." Admiral Zexathara laughed, a harsh sound like rocks grinding together. "Of course they are hiding. They know they cannot fight us. Perhaps they will surrender without a battle." The fleet began moving toward Earth's solar system. Each ship was a masterpiece of destruction. The smallest destroyer was 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built. The largest dreadnoughts were mobile cities that could house millions of warriors. As they traveled deeper into human space, the alien commanders talked to each other over secure communication channels. They shared jokes about human cowardice. They made bets about how quickly the humans would surrender. The reptilian delegate, commanding a ship that looked like a giant metal snake, sent a message to the admiral. "Zexathara, this is almost disappointing. I was hoping for at least some resistance. My warriors are eager for battle." "Patience, old friend," the admiral replied. "Perhaps the humans are planning something. It would not be the first time a primitive species tried to surprise us." But as the hours passed, human space remained quiet. The alien fleet detected no major military buildup, no massive defensive formations, no desperate calls for help sent to other star systems. It seemed like Earth was simply waiting for the end. The fleet reached the orbit of Jupiter without seeing a single human warship. The gas giant looked peaceful and empty. Its moon showed some mining operations, but nothing that could threaten even the smallest alien vessel. "Sir," reported the tactical officer, "we are now entering the inner solar system. Still no signs of major human forces." Admiral Zexathara felt a strange unease in his stomach. Something was wrong. No species, no matter how primitive, would face certain destruction without at least trying to fight. Where were the human ships? Where were their defenses? "Scan everything," he ordered. "Every asteroid, every space station, every piece of debris. I want to know where they are hiding." The alien sensors were the best in the galaxy. They could detect a single fighter craft from light years away. They swept through the solar system like invisible nets, searching for any sign of human military forces. The results were puzzling. There were indeed human ships scattered throughout the system, but they were exactly what the aliens expected. Small vessels with fusion engines and primitive weapons. Nothing that could threaten a council garbage scow, let alone a battle fleet. Perhaps they really are as helpless as they appear, suggested the tactical officer. Admiral Zexithara was not convinced. His warrior instincts told him something was very wrong. In his long career, he had conquered dozens of worlds. He had fought against species much more advanced than humans. None of them had ever faced certain death with such calm. Silence. The fleet continued toward Earth. The blue and white planet grew larger in their view screens. It looked beautiful and peaceful, like a jewel hanging in the void. Orbital stations moved slowly around it like tiny moons. "Sir?" called the sensor operator. "I am detecting something unusual." "What is it?" "There is an energy signature near Earth's moon. It is very faint, but it does not match our database of human technology." Admiral Zexithara ordered the main screen to focus on the area around Luna. At first, he saw nothing but empty space and the gray surface of Earth's natural satellite. "There," pointed the sensor operator. "Behind the moon. Something is there." The Admiral enhanced the image. Slowly, a shape became visible in the moon's shadow. It was a ship, but unlike any vessel in the alien databases. The hull was completely black, so dark it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The ship was only about 5 kilometers long, smaller than most alien cruisers. "What is that thing?" whispered the tactical officer. Before anyone could answer, the strange ship began to move. It came out from behind the moon slowly, like a predator emerging from its hiding place. As it moved into the sunlight, the aliens could see its true shape. The vessel was sleek and angular, with curves that seemed to flow like liquid metal. There were no visible weapons, no obvious engines, no communication arrays. It looked more like a piece of abstract art than a warship. "Sir," reported the communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the human vessel. Put it on the main screen." A human face appeared on the view screen. It was a woman with short gray hair and calm eyes. She wore a simple military uniform with no fancy decorations. This was Admiral Chen, though the aliens did not know her name. "Galactic Council Fleet," she said in a clear, steady voice. "You are trespassing in human space. This is your final warning. Withdraw immediately or your presence will be considered an act of war." The alien bridge fell silent. Then Admiral Zexithara began to laugh. The sound spread to other bridges throughout the fleet. Soon, thousands of alien warriors were laughing at the audacity of a single human ship challenging their mighty armada. "Human," said Admiral Zexithara when he could speak again, "look around you. Count our ships. We have 10,000 vessels, to your one. You cannot possibly believe you can fight us." Admiral Chen's expression did not change. "Admiral, you have 30 seconds to begin your withdrawal. This is not a negotiation." The alien laughter grew louder. The reptilian commander sent a message saying this was the funniest thing he had seen in centuries. The crystalline beings made musical sounds of amusement. Even the cold machine collective found the situation amusing. Admiral Zexithara checked his chronometer. He decided to play along with the humans' game. "Very well, human, I will count your 30 seconds, then we will show you what real power looks like." He watched the time pass. 30 seconds. The human ship just floated there in space, looking small and helpless against the backdrop of 10,000 alien warships. "Your time is up," announced Admiral Zexithara. "Surrender now, and we might let some of your species live as slaves." "Admiral," Chen's voice came back over the communication channel. It was still calm, still steady. But now there was something else in it. Something that made the hair on the back of alien necks stand up. "You chose war," she said quietly. "So be it. Prometheus, you are weapons free." The strange black ship suddenly came alive with energy. But this was not the familiar glow of fusion or antimatter. This was something completely different. The ship's hull began to shift and change, revealing weapon ports that had not been visible before. Energy readings spiked beyond anything the alien sensors could properly measure. Warning alarms began sounding on bridges throughout the Council fleet. "What is happening?" demanded Admiral Zexathera. His tactical officer stared at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, the energy readings make no sense. According to our sensors, that ship is generating more power than our entire fleet combined. But that is impossible." Admiral Zexathera felt a cold fear creeping into his heart. For the first time in his long military career, he was looking at something he did not understand, something that made his warrior instincts scream warnings. "All ships," he commanded, "prepare to fire. Target that vessel. Maximum firepower." 10,000 alien warships turned their weapons toward the single human ship. The combined firepower could have shattered moons and boiled oceans. Enough destructive force to end civilizations was about to be unleashed on one small vessel. But Admiral Zexathera could not shake the feeling that he had made a terrible mistake. The first minute of the battle would be remembered across the galaxy for 1,000 years. Admiral Zexathera gave the order that sealed his fate. "All ships open fire. Destroy that human vessel." 10,000 alien warships unleashed hell itself. Antimatter torpedoes streaked through space like falling stars. Plasma beams hot enough to melt planets carved lines of fire across the darkness. Particle cannons that could crack asteroids in half focused their fury on the single black ship. The combined attack was beautiful and terrible. It lit up the solar system brighter than the sun. Energy weapons of every color imaginable converged on the Prometheus. The firepower was enough to destroy entire fleets, to burn worlds to ash, to end civilizations. The human ship did not try to dodge. It did not run or hide. It simply waited as destruction came toward it. Then something impossible happened. A barrier appeared around the Prometheus, but it was not like any shield the aliens had ever seen. It did not glow with energy or spark with electricity. Instead, it seemed to bend space itself. The barrier looked like looking through water, making everything behind it wave and ripple. The alien weapons hit the barrier and simply disappeared, not reflected, not absorbed, not blocked. They vanished as if they had never existed at all. Antimatter torpedoes that could level mountains touched the strange field and were gone. Plasma beams that burned at 1,000,000 degrees reached the barrier and ceased to be. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Zexathera. His tactical officer stared at his instruments with wide, frightened eyes. "Sir, our weapons are not getting through. They are not even being stopped. They are just gone." Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication channels, calm as still water. "You chose this path. Now face the consequences. Prometheus, you may begin." The human warship changed. The black hull started to glow with a soft silver light that seemed to come from inside. The metal itself. New weapon ports opened along its sides, revealing technology that made no sense to alien eyes. A single beam of silver light emerged from the front of the Prometheus. It was thin as a pencil and moved faster than light itself. The beam did not travel through space in the normal way. It simply appeared wherever it was aimed, ignoring distance and time. The beam touched Admiral Zexathera's flagship, the mighty Deathbringer. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. The massive dreadnought continued to float in space, its weapons still firing, its crew still alive. Then the Deathbringer simply stopped existing. There was no explosion, no flash of light, no debris field. The ship that had been 50 kilometers long and housed a crew of 100,000 warriors was just gone. Where it had been, there was only empty space and scattered molecules. "What happened to the flagship?" screamed the reptilian commander over the communication network. "Where is Admiral Zexathera?" No one could answer because no one understood what they had just seen. The most powerful warship in the Vorthan fleet had been erased from reality like writing wiped from a board. Panic spread through the alien fleet faster than their communications could carry it. Ship captains who had never known fear in their lives suddenly felt terror creeping into their hearts. This was not battle as they understood it. This was something beyond their comprehension. The Prometheus began to move, but it did not use engines or thrusters. Instead, it seemed to fold space around itself, appearing and disappearing throughout the alien formation like a ghost made of death. Each time it materialized, that terrible silver beam reached out to touch another council ship. Each time another vessel ceased to exist. Battle cruisers that had conquered star systems disappeared without a trace. Carriers that housed thousands of fighters were erased from the universe. Dreadnoughts built to last for centuries were gone in an instant. The alien commanders tried everything they could think of. They ordered their ships to spread out to make themselves harder to target. The Prometheus simply appeared in the middle of their formations and continued its work. They tried to ram the human ship with their fastest vessels. The attacking ships passed right through the Prometheus, as if it was made of shadow and light. The Psionic Confederation attempted to assault the human vessel with their mind powers. Their psychic warriors reached out with thoughts sharp as knives, trying to crush the minds of the human crew. Instead, they encountered something that burned their consciousness, like touching the surface of a star. Screams echoed across the mental networks as entire psionic crews collapsed, their minds shattered by contact with something beyond their understanding. The machine collective tried to hack into the human ship's computer systems. Their most advanced artificial intelligences reached across space with electronic tendrils, seeking to take control of the enemy vessel. They found nothing. The Prometheus did not seem to have computers or networks as they understood them. It was as if the ship operated on principles that made no sense to any known form of technology. In the second minute, 3,000 alien ships had been destroyed. In the third minute, another 4,000 disappeared. The greatest armada in galactic history was being methodically erased by a single vessel that seemed to exist outside the normal laws of physics. Some alien ships tried to flee. They discovered that their faster-than-light drives would not work. The Prometheus had somehow locked down the entire solar system, trapping them with a predator they could not fight or understand. The crystalline hegemony's remaining ships gathered together and tried one final desperate attack. They combined their power into a single focused beam that could cut through the cores of planets. The energy lance struck the human ship directly. The attack passed through the Prometheus without effect, as if the vessel existed in a different dimension entirely. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the chaos and terror that filled the communication channels. Her words were like ice in the veins of every surviving alien. You wanted to see our warship. You wanted a demonstration of our power. This is what humanity has become while you played at being gods among the stars. The Prometheus began to glow brighter, that silver light spreading along its hull like liquid metal. The ship seemed to grow larger without actually changing size, as if it was expanding into dimensions that eyes could not see. We touched the void between realities and learned its secrets. We bent the laws of physics to our will, not through conquest, but through understanding. We became something more than flesh and metal and simple energy. The few remaining alien ships, less than 1,000 now, clustered together in a desperate defensive formation. They poured every weapon they had left into a final attack on the human vessel. Energy enough to crack continents flowed toward the Prometheus. The human ship ignored the attack completely. The alien weapons could not touch something that existed, partially outside normal space and time. You wanted to see our demonstration, Admiral Chen continued, her voice now echoing with strange harmonics that hurt alien ears. Here it is. The Prometheus began to pulse with that silver light, brighter and brighter until it outshone Earth's sun. The light was not painful to look at, but it carried a sense of vast, incomprehensible power. This is your lesson. This is your warning. This is your future if you continue to threaten humanity. The light exploded outward from the human ship, not as fire or energy, but as something that changed the very nature of space around it. The wave of silver radiance expanded in all directions, moving faster than light itself. Every alien ship, touched by the light, simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized, not torn apart. They were simply edited out of reality as if they had never been built, never been crewed, never been sent to threaten Earth. In 4 minutes, 10,000 alien warships and their crews were gone. The greatest military force in galactic history had been erased by a single human vessel that operated on principles beyond alien understanding. The Prometheus hung alone in the void, its hull returning to that light-absorbing black. The solar system was quiet again except for the gentle movement of planets in their orbits. Admiral Chen's final message went out across the galaxy. carried by means that no alien scientist could explain. The demonstration is complete. Remember this lesson well. Humanity sought peace, you chose war, these were the consequences. The age of alien dominance over the galaxy had ended in exactly 4 minutes. 3 days after the battle, the galaxy began to understand what had happened at Earth. The message arrived on every major world at exactly the same time. It did not come through normal communication channels or quantum transmitters. Instead, it simply appeared on every screen, every display, every communication device across thousands of star systems. No one could explain how this was possible. The message was simple. It contained video footage of the battle from multiple angles, showing the complete destruction of the Council fleet in perfect detail. Along with the images came Admiral Chen's final statement. On the Vorthon homeworld, the Imperial War Council watched the footage in absolute silence. These were warriors who had conquered hundreds of worlds, who had never known defeat. Now they stared at screens showing their greatest fleet being erased from existence in 4 minutes. General Thakmor, the oldest living Vorthon warrior, spoke first. His voice was barely a whisper. "How many ships did we lose?" "All of them, sir," replied his aide. "Every vessel we sent to Earth. 400 of our finest warships, gone." The general's claws scraped against the metal table. In his 300 years of life, he had seen the rise and fall of empires. He had watched entire species bow before Vorthon might, but he had never seen anything like this. What of Admiral Zex Ithara? "No trace, sir. No survivors. No debris. It is as if they never existed." On the crystal worlds of the hegemony, the Harmonic Council met in emergency session. These beings of living mineral had existed for millions of years. They had seen the birth and death of stars. But the footage from Earth showed them something that challenged everything they thought they knew about the universe. The prime crystal, eldest of their race, resonated with deep, mournful tones. "The humans have touched something beyond our understanding. They have found power in the void between realities." "What should we do?" asked a younger crystal being. "We pray they are merciful," came the reply. Across the galaxy, the same conversation was happening on every world. Military leaders who had spent their lives planning conquest now spent their time planning how to avoid humanity's attention. Political councils that had ruled star systems for thousands of years suddenly found themselves powerless. The Psionic Confederation's collective mind was in chaos. The mental screams of their warriors who had tried to attack the Prometheus still echoed through their shared consciousness. Many of their strongest telepaths had been driven insane by contact with whatever intelligence controlled the human ship. The machine collective ran millions of calculations trying to understand the technology they had witnessed. Every simulation failed. Every analysis came back with the same result. Impossible. But the most important meeting was happening on a small moon in neutral space. Representatives from the 12 council races had gathered in secret. They came in unmarked ships, hiding from their own people as much as from humanity. The meeting room was simple and bare. No grand decorations, no symbols of power. Just a circular table where the rulers of the galaxy sat like frightened children. The reptilian emperor spoke first. His forearms trembled as he gestured toward the center of the table, where a hologram showed the Earth system. "We have received reports from our deep space scouts. Human ships are moving throughout their solar system, but they are not the ships we have seen before. They are using the same technology as the vessel that destroyed our fleets." "How many?" asked the aquatic. "Union's representative, we do not know. Our scouts cannot get close enough to count them. Every time one of our ships approaches the Sol system, it is discouraged." The Voidwalker's representative, a being of living darkness, spoke in a voice like wind through empty space. "Discouraged? The human ships appear near our vessels and simply wait. They do not threaten or attack. They just watch. Our crews report feeling overwhelming terror, as if they are being examined by something vast and incomprehensible. The Machine Collective's delegate, a silver robot with glowing red eyes, processed this information. Analysis suggests the humans are not merely technologically superior. They have evolved beyond our understanding of what technology means. Silence fell over the group. These beings had ruled the galaxy for millennia. They had divided up star systems like pieces of food on a plate. They had treated entire species as resources to be harvested. Now they were discussing how to avoid the attention of a single solar system. The crystalline representative rang with nervous harmonics. "What do they want from us?" "According to their message, nothing," replied the reptilian emperor. "They claim no territory beyond their own system. They seek no conquest, no empire. But they have made it clear that the old council no longer exists." "Then what are we?" asked the hive mind delegate. No one could answer that question. Over the following weeks, the galaxy began to change in ways no one had expected. Without the council's iron rule, old conflicts that had been suppressed for centuries began to emerge. Some species tried to claim territory that had once belonged to stronger races. Others simply hid, afraid that any action might draw humanity's attention. Trade routes that had existed for thousands of years collapsed as merchant ships refused to travel through space that might bring them close to human territory. Entire star systems declared independence from their former masters, knowing that the old powers no longer had the strength to stop them. But the strangest thing was what did not happen. Many alien leaders expected humanity to begin expanding, to start claiming worlds and building an empire. After all, they had proven they possessed the power to conquer the entire galaxy in a matter of days. Instead, Earth remained silent. Human ships continued to patrol their solar system, but they made no aggressive moves. They did not send invasion fleets or demand tribute. They simply existed, like a sleeping giant that no one dared to wake. Some brave alien merchants tried to approach Earth with offers of trade. They found human patrol ships waiting for them at the edge of the system. The encounters were polite but firm. Humans would trade knowledge and technology, but only on their terms. No alien vessel was permitted to approach Earth itself. A few species sent ambassadors with offers of alliance, surrender, or tribute. These messages were acknowledged but not answered. It was as if humanity had moved beyond the need for normal diplomacy. The most disturbing reports came from deep space explorers. Ships that ventured too far from known trade routes reported encountering human vessels in places where no ships should exist. These encounters always followed the same pattern. The human ship would appear without warning, observe the alien vessel for a few moments, then vanish as mysteriously as it had come. It became clear that humanity was watching everything. They had eyes and ears throughout the galaxy, monitoring every major civilization, every military movement, every political decision, but they remained silent observers, never interfering unless someone made the mistake of threatening Earth. 6 months after the battle, a young Vorthon explorer made a discovery that changed everything. On a dead world at the edge of the galaxy, she found ancient ruins covered in strange symbols. The structures were millions of years old, built by a race that had vanished before most current civilizations had even evolved. The symbols told a story of beings who had come from beyond the stars, beings who could bend reality to their will, beings who had shaped the early galaxy and then disappeared, leaving only warnings for those who would follow. The explorer's translation of the final inscription sent shockwaves through every remaining government. The first ones return when the children have grown too proud. They come not as conquerors but as shepherds to guide the flock back to the proper path. Fear not their power, for it is not meant for destruction. Fear only your own arrogance, for that is what draws their attention. The inscription was signed with a symbol that made the explorer's blood run cold. It was the same mark that appeared on the hull of the Prometheus. As this news spread across the galaxy, a terrible understanding began to dawn on the alien races. Humanity had not suddenly developed impossible technology. They had not discovered new scientific principles or built weapons beyond comprehension. They had come home, the beings who had ruled the galaxy in its youth, who had disappeared into the void between stars, who had been watching and waiting for the right moment to return. The humans were not newcomers to the galactic community. They were its creators. And now, after millions of years of exile in the dark between realities, they had returned to find their creation ruled by children who had forgotten their place in The cosmic order. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of conquest and empire was over. The age of careful, respectful coexistence had begun. And somewhere in the Sol system, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching the stars and smiling quietly. Humanity had finally come home. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of her ship and looked at the star map. The red zone in front of them glowed like a warning sign. Every officer on the bridge knew what that red zone meant. It was the Kepler Nebula. Everyone in the galaxy called it the Maw. "Captain, we are getting close to the border," said Lieutenant Torres from the navigation station. Her voice was calm, but Chen could hear the worry in it. Chen nodded. She had been thinking about this moment for weeks. The UHSV. Defiance was not the biggest ship in the human fleet. It was not the fastest either. But it was her ship and her crew. 200 brave men and women who had volunteered for this mission. They all knew what they were flying into. The Maw had been killing ships for over 100 years. Not just human ships. Ships from every race in the galaxy. The tall blue Zephyrians with their crystal technology had lost 12 vessels there. The Collective, a race that shared one mind across millions of bodies, had sent their best ships into the E. None came back. Even the ancient Vorthon Empire, rulers of half the galaxy, would not go near that place. "Show me the records again," Chen said to her science officer. Dr. James Rodriguez touched his screen and the main display changed. Now it showed a list of all the ships that had gone into the Maw and never returned. The list was long. Very long. 87 ships from 23 different species, Rodriguez said. The last one was a Vorthon battlecruiser. That was 6 months ago. It had shields that could stop a star going nova. The ship was there one moment and gone the next. Chen looked at the faces of her crew. They were scared. She could see it in their eyes. But they were still here, still ready to do their job. "Captain," said Communications Officer Park, "we are getting a message from the Galactic Council station." Put it on screen. The face of Ambassador Krell appeared on the main display. Krell was a Vorthon, one of the oldest races in the galaxy. His gray skin looked like old stone and his 4 eyes never blinked. When he spoke, his voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "Captain Chen," Krell said, "the Council has voted. The Kepler Nebula is now forbidden to all ships. No one may enter that region of space. This order applies to all member species." Chen stepped forward. "Ambassador, with respect, humanity volunteered for this mission. We knew the risks when we took the job." Krell made a sound that might have been laughter but sounded more like breaking glass. "Captain, your species has been in space for less than 200 years. You have no shields like the Zephyrians, no shared mind like the Collective, no battle experience like the Vorthons. What makes you think you can succeed where we have failed?" "Maybe that is exactly why we might succeed," Chen said. Krell's 4 eyes stared at her for a long moment. "You are either very brave or very stupid, human. The Council has spoken. Do not enter the Maw." The screen went dark. Chen turned to her crew. Every person on the bridge was looking at her, waiting for her decision. "Lieutenant Torres, what is our current position?" "We are at the border of the restricted zone, Captain. The Maw starts 5,000 kilometers ahead." "Chief Engineer Kowalski, how are our systems?" "All green, Captain. The ship is ready for whatever comes next." "Dr. Rodriguez, do we have all the sensor data from the previous expeditions?" "Yes, Captain. I have studied every report, every scan, every last transmission from the ships that went in." Chen walked to the center of the bridge. She thought about her crew, about the families they had left behind on Earth, about all the ships that had died in the Maw, about the Galactic Council that thought humans were too weak and too stupid to matter. "Everyone listen to me," she said. "I will not lie to you. The Maw has killed every ship that has gone into it. We might die in there. We probably will die in there. But we came here to do a job, to solve a mystery that has puzzled the galaxy for a century, to find out what is really happening in that nebula." She paused and looked at each face on the bridge. Every other race that went into the Maw had better technology than us. Better weapons, better shields, better everything. They all died. But maybe that is the problem. Maybe the answer is not having the best technology. Maybe the answer is something else. What do you mean, Captain? Asked Torres. I mean, maybe the answer is being human, Chen said. Every other race in the galaxy thinks like machines. They calculate everything. They predict everything. They plan for everything. But humans are different. We adapt. We improvise. We do things that do not make sense to anyone else. Engineer Kowalski smiled. So we are going in? We are going in, Chen said. But first, I want everyone to understand something. This is a volunteer mission. Anyone who wants to leave can take a shuttle back to the council station. No one will think less of you. Chen waited. No one moved. No one spoke. All right then, she said. Lieutenant Torres, set course for the center of the maw. Full speed ahead. Course set, Captain. Engage. The Defiance turned toward the red zone on the star map, toward the place where 87 ships had died, toward the mystery that the galaxy's greatest minds could not solve. As they crossed into the maw, Chen felt something she had not expected. She felt hope. Maybe the other races were right. Maybe humans were too stupid to know when they should be afraid. But sometimes being stupid was exactly what the universe needed. The first hour inside the maw was quiet. Too quiet. Captain Chen stood on the bridge watching the swirling purple and gold clouds of the nebula flow past their ship. It was beautiful in a way that made her skin crawl. Sensors are picking up debris. Ahead, said Dr. Rodriguez. Looks like pieces of a ship. Chen moved to look at his screen. Floating in the colorful gas clouds were chunks of metal and crystal. The pieces were too small to identify which race they came from. But she knew. This was all that remained of someone's crew, someone's friends. Any signs of what destroyed it? She asked. No, Captain. The debris pattern is strange. It looks like the ship was pulled apart piece by piece, not blown up or cut apart. Just torn. Lieutenant Torres looked up from her navigation station. Captain, I am getting some weird readings from the gravity sensors. Chen walked over to Torres. The young woman was one of the best pilots in the human fleet. If she was worried about something, Chen wanted to know what it was. What kind of readings? The gravity here keeps changing. 1 second it is normal. The next second it is 10 times stronger. Then it goes back to normal. I have never seen anything like it. Chief Engineer Kowalski spoke up from his station. That would explain the debris. If gravity keeps jumping around like that, it would rip any ship apart. Chen frowned. But why didn't the other ships detect this? The Zephyrians have gravity, sensors better than ours. Rodriguez was studying his computer. Maybe they did detect it. Look at this data from the last Vorthan ship. Their sensors recorded the same gravity changes we are seeing. Then why did they not avoid it? Because look at the pattern they recorded. Rodriguez put the Vorthan data on the main screen. It showed a neat, organized chart of gravity readings. Their computers tried to make sense of the chaos. They created a pattern that was not really there. Chen stared at the screen. The Vorthan data looked clean and simple, but the real gravity readings from their own ship looked like a mess. Random spikes and drops with no order at all. Their computers were too smart, she said slowly. They tried to find logic in something that has no logic. Exactly, said Rodriguez. The gravity changes are not random, but they are not following any pattern we can predict. It is like quantum mechanics. You cannot know where an electron will be, but you can work with the uncertainty. Suddenly alarms started ringing all over the bridge. Torres grabbed her controls as the ship shook hard. Gravity spiked directly ahead, she shouted. It just went up to 20 times normal. Chen felt her body press down into the floor as the artificial gravity inside the ship fought against the outside force. Through the front window she could see space itself bending and twisting. Can we go around it? Chen asked. I do not know where around is, Torres said through gritted teeth. The spike is moving. The invisible force grabbed their ship and started pulling it toward something they could not see. Chen watched the stress. Readings on her screen climb higher and higher. In a few more seconds, the Defiance would be torn apart just like all the other ships. Forget the computers, Chen said suddenly. Torres, stop looking at the screens. Just fly. Captain, do not think about it. Do not try to understand it. Just feel what the ship is telling you and react. Torres closed her eyes for a moment. Then her hands started moving over the controls in ways that made no sense to anyone watching. She pushed the engines in directions that should have made their situation worse. She turned toward the gravity spike instead of away from it. But it worked. The ship slipped sideways out of the invisible grip and shot forward into clear space. How did you do that? Kowalski asked. Torres looked surprised. I do not know. I just felt where the ship wanted to go. Another gravity spike appeared to their left. This time Torres was ready. She moved the ship in a dancing pattern that looked crazy but kept them safe. Then another spike. And another. For the next 2 hours, Torres flew the Defiance through a maze of invisible death traps. Sometimes she would turn the ship upside down for no reason anyone could see. Sometimes she would speed up when logic said they should slow down. But every time, she kept them alive. The other members of the crew started to understand. Engineer Kowalski stopped trying to predict when the engines would be stressed. Instead, he watched the ship's reactions and adjusted power in real time. Dr. Rodriguez stopped trying to map the gravity fields and started just recording what actually happened. We are doing something no other race would do, Chen said as she watched her crew work. We are not trying to control the chaos, we are dancing with it. The other ships tried to fight their way through, Rodriguez said. They used brute force and logic. But this place does not respond to force or logic. What does it respond to? Torres asked while smoothly avoiding another gravity trap. Chen smiled. Intuition. Creativity. The ability to do something stupid that somehow works. As if to test her words, 3 gravity spikes appeared at once. They formed a triangle around the ship with no obvious way out. Torres studied the situation for exactly 2 seconds. Then she did something that made everyone on the bridge hold their breath. She flew straight up. The gravity spikes were designed to catch ships trying to go around them or through them, but Torres went over them in a direction that should have been impossible in space. Somehow it worked. We are getting deeper into the maw than any ship has ever gone, Rodriguez reported. We are past the point where the last Vorthan ship died. Chen looked at her crew. They were tired but excited. They had solved a puzzle that had killed dozens of more advanced ships, not by being smarter or stronger, but by being human. Keep going, she said. Let us see what is really hiding in the center of this place. The center of the maw was not what Captain Chen expected. Instead of more deadly gravity traps, they found empty space. Perfectly calm, perfectly still empty space. It felt wrong after hours of dancing through invisible death. All gravity readings, normal, Torres reported. She sounded confused. It is like we just walked out of a storm into a quiet room. Dr. Rodriguez was staring at his sensors with his mouth open. Captain, you need to see this. Chen moved to his station. On the screen was something that should not exist. A structure floating in space. It was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. But it was not built by any race she knew. The structure looked like it was grown instead of built. Smooth curves and flowing lines connected massive chambers that glowed with soft blue light. There were no sharp edges anywhere, no visible engines or weapons. It just hung there in the calm center of the maw like it had been waiting for them. Is it a ship? Chen asked. I do not think so, Rodriguez said. Look at these readings. The metal is not metal. It is something else. Something organic but not alive. And it is old. Very old. How old? Rodriguez checked his instruments twice before answering. Maybe 1,000,000 years, maybe more. The communications officer looked up from her station. Captain, I am picking up a signal from the structure. It is very faint. What kind of signal? It sounds like music, but also like data. Like someone is trying to talk to us and sing to us at the same time. Chen made a decision that she knew was either very brave or very stupid. Torres, take us closer. slowly. As the Defiance moved toward the ancient structure, more details became clear. The flowing walls were covered in symbols that seemed to move and change as they watched. Passages and tunnels led deep into the structure, and everywhere that soft blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. "Captain," Rodriguez said quietly, "I am detecting other ships inside that thing." Chen felt her blood turn cold. "What kind of ships?" "All kinds. Zephyrian crystal ships, collective bioships, Forthon war cruisers. They are all in there. All the ships that disappeared in the Maw over the last century." "Are there any life signs?" Rodriguez shook his head. "No. The ships are empty. But they are not destroyed. They look like they just landed." As they got closer, Chen could see that Rodriguez was right. Through the transparent walls of the structure, she could see dozens of alien ships. They sat in vast chambers like vehicles in a parking garage. Some she recognized from the galactic database. Others were completely unknown. "There," Torres said, pointing through the front window. "That passage is big enough for our ship." The passage looked like the mouth of some giant creature, but the soft blue light inside was welcoming, not threatening. Chen felt like the structure wanted them to enter. "Take us in," she said. The Defiance flew through the passage and into a chamber that was perfectly sized for their ship. As soon as they were inside, the passage sealed behind them with flowing metal that moved like water. "We are trapped," Kowalski said. "Or protected," Chen replied. She was not sure why, but she did not feel afraid. The structure felt safe. Old and powerful, but safe. "Captain," Rodriguez said with wonder in his voice, "the air in here is breathable, and there is gravity. This place is maintaining a perfect environment for us. How does it know what we need?" "I think it has been studying our ship since we entered the Maw." A new voice spoke from the communication system. Not through the radio, but directly through their computers. The voice was calm and ancient and spoke perfect English. "Welcome, humans, we have been waiting for you." Chen stepped forward even though there was no one to step toward. "Who are you?" "We were the first to reach the stars. We built this place as a test for those who would come after us. Many have tried to pass. All have failed, until now." "What kind of test?" "A test of wisdom, of character, of the ability to think beyond logic and calculation. The species that came before you tried to conquer our defenses. You chose to dance with them instead." The main screen lit up with images. Chen saw the Zephyrians trying to blast through the gravity traps with their crystal weapons. She saw the collective sending ship after ship, each one following the same failed plan as the last. She saw Vorthan commanders making careful battle plans that meant nothing against chaos. They all believed that superior technology would solve any problem. The voice continued. They could not accept that some puzzles require intuition instead of logic, creativity instead of calculation, cooperation instead of conquest. "So you killed them?" Chen asked. "We did not kill anyone. We brought them here to keep them safe while they learned. But they never learned. They spent years in our chambers, trying to find a technological solution to leave. They never understood that the answer was to ask for help." Chen looked around the bridge at her crew. "What do you want from us?" "We want to know if humanity is ready for what comes next. The galaxy faces a threat that cannot be defeated with weapons or shields. It requires the one thing your species possesses that others do not." "What is that?" "The willingness to sacrifice everything for strangers, to put the lives of others before your own survival, to choose hope over logic when all seems lost." The structure around them began to change. Walls became transparent, showing them views of space they had never seen before. Dark shapes moving between the stars. A wave of something terrible coming toward the galaxy. "This is why we built the test," the voice said. "We knew this day would come. We needed to find a species that could make the choice we could not make, ourselves." Chen felt the weight of the universe settling on her shoulders. "What choice?" "The choice to save everyone, even if it costs you everything." The ancient voice paused, and Chen could feel sadness in it. Regret for something that happened long ago. We failed that test ourselves. We were too afraid to make the sacrifice. That is why we are gone, and you are here. We hope you will be braver than we were." Chen looked at her crew again. At Torres, who had danced their ship through impossible dangers. At Rodriguez, who chose wonder over fear. At Kowalski, who kept them flying when logic said they should fall apart. "Show us what we need to do," she said. The walls around them became like windows showing deep space. But this was not normal space. Captain Chen saw darkness moving between the stars. Not the empty darkness of space, but something alive and hungry. "What is that?" she asked. The ancient voice answered with sadness. "Dark matter, but not the kind your scientists know. This dark matter consumes everything it touches. Stars, planets, life itself. It turns everything into more darkness." Dr. Rodriguez was studying his instruments. "How fast is it moving?" "It will reach the outer systems of your galaxy in 18 months. Once it starts consuming stars, it will spread faster. Within 5 years, every world in the galaxy will be dead." Chen felt sick. "Can it be stopped?" "Yes. But the price is very high." The structure around them changed again. Now they could see a network of machines hidden throughout the galaxy. Thousands of them, maybe millions. They were connected by streams of energy that moved faster than light. "We built these stabilizers long ago," the voice explained. "They can create a barrier that the dark matter cannot cross, but someone must activate them manually from here." "That does not sound so bad," said Engineer Kowalski. "Just flip a switch and save the galaxy. The activation process requires someone to stay here and maintain the connection. The energy needed is enormous. It will destroy this facility and everything in it." Chen understood. "You mean it will kill whoever activates it?" "Yes. And not just one person. The network needs the life energy of everyone here to power it. Your entire crew would have to sacrifice themselves to save the galaxy." The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Chen looked at her crew. 200 good people who had families waiting for them at home. People who had volunteered for a dangerous mission but not for suicide. "Why did the other species not make this choice?" she asked. "They tried to find another way. They spent years studying our technology, looking for a solution that would let them survive. The Zephyrians tried to modify our machines. The collective tried to share the energy load across their hive mind. The Vorthons tried to build their own version of the network. Did any of their ideas work? No. There is no other way. Someone must die to save everyone else." Chen walked to the center of the bridge. She thought about Earth, about her sister, who was a teacher, about her nephew, who was 7 years old and wanted to be a spaceship captain when he grew up, about all the billions of people who did not even know this threat existed. "How long do we have to decide?" she asked. "The activation must happen within the next 6 hours. After that, the dark matter will be too close to stop." Chen turned to her crew. "You heard what they said. I will not make this choice for everyone. We need to vote." "Captain," Torres said. "Before we vote, I want to say something." Chen nodded. "I joined this mission because I wanted to explore space. I wanted to see new things and meet alien races. I never thought I would have to choose between my life and everyone else's life." She paused and looked around the bridge. "But that is exactly the choice we face. And I know what my answer is. My nephew will never forgive me if I let his world die because I was too scared to do the right thing." Dr. Rodriguez spoke next. "I became a scientist to help people, to learn things that would make life better for everyone. This is the most important discovery in human history, the chance to save every living thing in the galaxy. How can we walk away from that?" "Engineer." Kowalski was quiet for a moment, then he smiled. "My grandfather fought in the war on Earth. He told me that sometimes good people have to do hard things so that other people can live safe lives. I think this is one of those times." One by one, every person on the bridge spoke. Some cried. Some were scared. But every single one said the same thing. They would stay. They would activate the network. They would save the galaxy even if it killed them. "What about the rest of the crew?" Chen asked. "They should have a choice too." Chen opened a channel to the entire ship. She explained everything. The dark matter, the network, the choice they had to make. She told them the truth. Staying meant dying, but leaving meant watching the galaxy die. The votes came back quickly. 200 people, 200 votes to stay. "Captain," said Communications Officer Park, "I have a message from engineering. Chief Martinez says his team is honored to die for such a good cause. He also says the engines are ready for whatever comes next." "Medical bay reports ready," said another officer. "Dr. Kim says she has enough pain medication to keep everyone comfortable during the process." Chen felt tears in her eyes. She had known her crew was brave. But this was beyond brave. This was heroic. "All right then," she said. "Let us save the galaxy." The ancient voice spoke again. "Before you begin, there is something else you should know. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten. We have prepared a way to send a message to every world in the galaxy. They will know what you did. They will know that humans chose to save them all." "That is not why we are doing this," Chen said. "We know. That is exactly why you are the right species for this task." The structure began to change around them. New controls appeared. Systems that had waited 1,000,000 years for someone brave enough to use them. "The activation process will take 1 hour," the voice explained. "Once you begin, you cannot stop. Are you ready?" Chen looked at her crew one last time. These good people who had chosen death so that others could live. She had never been more proud to be human. "We are ready," she said, and they began to save the galaxy. Captain Chen placed her hand on the activation control. It was warm to the touch, like something alive. Around her, the bridge crew stood at their stations ready to do their jobs one last time. "Beginning activation sequence," she said. The moment her hand pressed down, everything changed. Energy flowed through the ancient structure like blood through veins. The walls glowed brighter. The air itself seemed to hum with power. "Network connections established," Dr. Rodriguez reported. His voice was steady, even though they all knew what was coming. "I am reading active links to stabilizers across the galaxy. Thousands of them, all waiting for our signal." Through the transparent walls, they could see the other alien ships. The Zephyrian crystal vessels began to glow. The collective bioships pulsed with light. Even the massive Vorthon war cruisers seemed to wake up after years of sleep. "The other crews," Torres said with wonder. "They are still alive." The ancient voice spoke to them all. "We kept them in deep sleep, hoping someone would come who could make the choice they could not make. Now they will wake to see what real courage looks like." On the main screen, Chen could see the faces of alien crew members appearing in the windows of their ships, tall blue Zephyrians with their crystal eyes. The insect-like beings of the collective, gray-skinned Vorthons with their 4 eyes wide with surprise. "They are seeing us," Communications Officer Park said. "They are seeing humans choose to die for them." The energy flowing through the structure was getting stronger. Chen could feel it in her bones. It was not painful yet, but she knew it would be soon. "Captain," Rodriguez said, "the network is at 30% power. I can see the effect starting at the edge of the galaxy. The dark matter is slowing down." Chen opened a channel to the entire ship. She wanted to speak to her crew one more time. "This is the captain," she said. "I want everyone to know how proud I am to serve with you. In 1 hour, every person in the galaxy will be alive because of what we do here today. Our families will be safe. Children we will never meet will grow up and have children of their own." She paused, feeling the energy building around them. "We came here to solve a mystery. We found something bigger than that. We found our purpose. Humanity's purpose. We are the ones who step forward when no one else will. We are the ones who choose hope over fear." The structure shook as more power flowed through it. The energy was becoming visible now, streams of blue light running along every wall and ceiling. 50% power, Rodriguez reported. "The dark matter wave has stopped moving. The barrier is forming." Chen looked at the alien ships around them. Some of the crews were trying to communicate with them. She could see Zephyrians making gestures that might have been thanks. Collective drones were arranging themselves in patterns that looked like salutes. "They understand what we are doing," Torres said. "They know we are dying for them." The Vorthan ships were the closest. Through their windows, Chen could see Ambassador Krell himself, the same alien who had told them not to enter the maw. His 4 eyes were focused on her ship. As she watched, he raised one hand to his chest in what she realized was a Vorthan gesture of respect. "Network at 70%, Rodriguez said. His voice was getting weaker. The energy was starting to drain them all. Chen felt tired but also peaceful. This was right. This was what humans were meant to do. Not to build the biggest ships or have the best weapons, but to be the ones who stood up when the galaxy needed heroes. "Captain," Park said softly, "I am receiving a transmission. It is being broadcast to every world in the galaxy. What does it say? It is our story. Everything we did. How we got here. How we chose to save everyone." She paused. "The message says that humanity has proven themselves worthy to be the guardians of the galaxy." 80% power, Rodriguez whispered. "The barrier is complete. The dark matter cannot pass." Chen felt the energy pulling at her life force. Now. But she also felt something else. Pride. Joy. The knowledge that they had saved trillions of lives. "Listen to me, all of you," she said to her crew. "We are not dying today. We are being born. Born as legends. Born as the humans who saved the galaxy when no one else could." The ancient voice spoke one last time. "Your sacrifice will create something new. The network will remain active, powered by your choice. It will protect the galaxy forever. And your story will be told on every world until the stars grow cold." Chen thought about her nephew back on Earth, the boy who wanted to be a spaceship captain. Someday he would learn about his aunt who flew into a place called the Maw and saved everyone. Maybe he would be proud. 90% power, Rodriguez said, his voice barely a whisper. Through the transparent walls, Chen could see the alien crews watching them. Some were crying. Others were standing in salute. All of them understood that they were witnessing something miraculous. 100%, Rodriguez said. The energy reached its peak. For a moment, Chen felt connected to every star in the galaxy. She could sense the dark matter wave hitting the barrier and stopping. She could feel billions of lives continuing safely because of what they had chosen to do. The last thing she saw was a message appearing on screens throughout the galaxy. Ships, space stations, planets all receiving the same words. The humans of the UHSV Defiance have saved the galaxy. They chose to die so that all others might live. Remember them. Honor them. Be worthy of their sacrifice. As the light faded, around her, Captain Sarah Chen smiled. They had come to solve a mystery. Instead, they had shown the galaxy what it meant to be human. The Defiance was gone. But humanity's greatest mission was just beginning.